there was a lot more to share, and we're gonna get into that just now. So first and foremost, I'm sure you want to know, what is Sandy Alcantara's PLV? Just a good understanding of this. This is also an app that Kyle has made, and we are going to make public for everybody to quickly use before we get it on the PitcherList site, so you guys can be accessing this and getting this information through the year. We think that's really important. And even though it's not directly on our site right away, I think it's just more important for this to get into your hands in some fashion before we then have it inside of PitchList. Of course, absolutely free. So here is against the lefties. Changeup is above average. His four-seamer actually surprisingly normal. But look at that sinker against lefties, which you just don't see. You don't see good sinkers against opposite-handed batters often, and that's really cool. And of course, that slider doing well. But against righties, the changeup should probably be used more. Only 15%, but it's so unbelievable. 5.61 is ridiculous. And I think, as you guys saw with Kyle there, a quality pitch is above a 5.5. So to average against righties a quality pitch on your changeup is stupid. Absolutely stupid. I also have a couple others I actually want to pull up. Maybe I'll share with you guys after this, but it's my favorite PLV chart that we have, and you can probably guess who it is. It's bonkers, and save that for the end. But anyway, I do want to reiterate one thing, that this is not perfect, okay? There is no holy grail solution for a pitch quantifier. Eno has talked about this. Cameron talked about this as well. We had to make tough decisions along the way. So things that we're doing, we're ignoring runners on base. Like, is there a threat that does change how pitchers approach, right? It ignores the actual hitter innately. There are ways to kind of incorporate that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But right now, our model does not say what the hitter is good or bad at and how that changes how pitchers may approach them because of it. It does mean that higher leverage counts are going to get bigger weights. And when we have a higher expectation of things, for example, leading up to a 3-0 count, you're going to actually get a good PLV on that 3-0 count because it's more likely to be a strike. And it's going to shift from a walk probability down to more likely of an out. But we feel that that's actually very well countered by the 0-0 pitch that's a ball, and the 1-0 pitch that's a ball, and the 2-0 pitch that's a ball. So we were okay with that, but it's not perfect in this way. As I mentioned there, pitchers are also human, and things change all the time, and that definitely messes with things. Well, a lot of these models that does. We are only using 2.5 years of pitch data at the moment. We're going to be including 2023 as well. But it also is, it's something that will get better, of course, over time. Sequencing is completely disregarded at this moment. However, I do think using PLV, we can analyze sequencing well. We say, hey, this general pitch should be this good, and it wasn't. And then maybe we can look at all the sequencings and say, hey, wait a second, these kinds of pitches perform better with these circumstances before it. And I think that's a really cool, fun thing for us to look into. And we will continue to improve the model as Kyle just showcased. There's a 2.0 version coming as well, right? This is not a finished product in the sense of, hey, we've reached our goal and we're done. If anything, in many ways, as you're going to see as we continue talking about PLV, that this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm just so excited to finally talk about it publicly, because we're finally at a place where we think, hey, hey, this is something that we think is great, but the applications of it. And I really want to go into that. So the PLV applications, these are actually the metrics that matter. And really, when it came to creating this model, you could say, Nick, just use pitching plus or pitching bomb. Like, yeah, those are amazing. And by all means, use that stuff if you're looking at it for the overall season. But this is the question I want you guys to be asking. Sorry, this is the start. I forgot. Right. This is just the seed. This is the real question, though. What if we analyzed a single event based on the quality of pitch thrown? And that is a crazy idea, right? What PLV does, I mean, you probably got this from Kyle's presentation, is that this is really the start, as the previous slide. I should have flipped these slides over. you can do so much analyzing events differently, right? If you actually have this single event. So so these are the different applications we're creating that Kyle just outlined, right? PLA, hit luck, a quality minus BP percentage, a quality minus bad percentage, and hitter performance, right? And I've kind of summed them up quickly. You have a simplified BABIP for hit luck and so on. And we're going to talk about each of those really quickly. So we are going to make an ERA estimator with it. We're messing around with it. We have some really fun ideas with it, and it's supposed to be along lines of FIP and Sierra. Essentially using a lot of the prediction stuff that we have now, we think we can give a better perspective on some of these, and we have some things we want to show you, but we want to save that for PLA. We're still tweaking on it a little bit. You're going to see that soon, and that's a really fun one. In the meantime, as Kyle expressed, we have it on the ERA scale. And this is cool because one of the main goals that I really want to achieve, and I tried to achieve it with CSW a little bit, but I want to get closer to it, is by using PLV, I want to be able to simplify how we talk about baseball. I think one of the biggest problems that we've seen over the past decade as we have this incredible data with StatCast is it's inaccessible. There's a learning curve. When you talk about WRC plus, oh, he has 123 WRC plus. We know that what that's saying is that the league average is 100, and then that player is a 23%, is 23% better than league average. But to a casual fan, you hear 123 WRC plus, they have no reference point. They only have the reference points of like ERA. Even whip at times is kind of weird. How many home runs they hit, right? And what we realized is instead of giving you just a new number to learn, we decided, you know what? We're going to use a familiar ERA scale. We're going to use that and quickly translate to everybody how good this pitch is. And this is not an ERA estimator when we look at it at pitch type. We're not saying that if he just throws changeups for the entire game, this is what his ERA is. We're not doing that. Obviously we can't. And Kyle went into how this is calculated and everything. My job is to showcase really how this works. So he showcased some of the stuff with the quality pitch stuff. Here are four seamers, by the way, the best ones. No surprise, Jacob deGrom and Zach Wheeler. But this is just a quick way to see, oh yeah, this is the PLA for all these. Instead of, we could just use the overall PLV2, but we kind of like using PLA as the quick, easy, accessible one. And then you can really get into the nitty gritty of what the PLV is, right? This is how it is for sinkers. By the way, Zach Wheeler in both of these is just he is so good. He is so good. And by the way, I think this is 900 pitches was the minimum. But by the way, also look at Ronaldo Lopez. I knew it. I knew it a little bit. Andrew Heaney's in there. Aaron Nola's four-seamer is really nice to see. Logan Webb's sinker should not be a surprise to anyone. But hey, Braxton Garrett, look at that. Garrett Whitlock. And keep in mind, again, this is not the ERA estimator. It's just scaled to it. So we're going to take a quick look at the other ones. Sliders and curveballs here. Manual Class A is just like insane. The cutter is the primary fastball, as we're calling it. Then he has a slider based on that, and it's just okay. You can see the curveball is amazing with Urias. Jacob deGrom's, by the way, he doesn't throw it, but that's insane. By the way, that's over pitches, not of that individual pitch type. It's just overall how many have they thrown. So keep in mind that like deGrom's 194 isn't over the same volume that it is Urias is here. But you see McClanahan's in there, Framber Valdez, Nola. These should not surprise you if you know these guys. But Aaron Savali, look at that, 259. 259. Oh, man. Changeups and cutters. Bo Brisky coming in hot. Not surprising, honestly. If you follow Brisky, you know that his changeup is really, really good. That's really the thing for him. But still, that's pretty cool. Russ Stripling, of course, had it. Whitlock again. Changeup and sinker. Kind of wild. You have Darvish with his cutter, which isn't surprising to anyone that follows him. Same with Ohtani. Really loves getting that for strikes. Drew Rasmussen. That's a really good cutter. That is a very good one. And Paul Blackburn getting those strikes with his is pretty dang cool. Sorry, but Helsley apparently has a better cutter than Class A, which is, I think, very, very interesting. And then, of course, you have splitters. I can't leave out Gosman. I mean, come on. This is just a Gosman thing. Bautista, I guess, Otani. Taiwan Walker's is actually all right. The only thing that pretty much saved him last year. And then you, of course, you have the thing with Alex Cobb. Then there's quality pitch, bat pitch, and BP percentage. Again, this is more for pitch volatility. And I remember actually seeing a tweet that, Luis Castillo, he got traded, I believe, to the Mariners, or someone was talking about, oh, hey, more slider usage. And I think it was some beat writer saying, oh, for every good slider that Luis Castillo has, there's a cement mixer in the middle of the plate. And I was like, well, you have no data for that. We actually could tell you that the spin rate is lower and what the volatility is. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And realized that we could be doing this with PLV. So this is a really fun thing where we can look at not just overall, which we have done right now. We've done the overall one, but with the launch of PL8, you actually have this data for individual pitches to see the consistency of a slider to really answer that question. Is Luis Castillo's sliders, does he make a ton of mistakes with those? And, is that a big deal or not, right? How consistent is he with a pitch? That's a really, really cool thing. And we bucket that out. So keep in mind 5.5 and 4.5. We really messed around with this. We were thinking, oh, it should be more closer to 6 and 4 to really express those elite ones. And we might do another bucket on top of like elite pitches versus terrible pitches or horrible pitches. Big shout out to Ellen Adair, by the way. This originally was quality pitch and poor pitch, which makes more sense, I think, logistically. I didn't want to do GP because that's games played. So I did quality pitch. But I don't want to say PP over and over again. And Ellen said, why not do bad pitch? Because it's like it's BP, hence a bad pitch. So thanks, Ellen, for coming up with that one. I was like, oh, good, an easy solution. So I don't have to do poor pitch. And by the way, the Q minus BP percentage average is around 7%. I also have some theories about using this with K minus walk rate. I think this is K minus walk rate expressed in a more granular way. And I have some thoughts about that, but that's for another time. We're not ready to showcase all of that work. So here's just some quick looks at these. Is the highest quality pitch percentage. Shane McClanahan, Otani. I mean, obviously, Keegan Aiken is here. I feel like I'm at a roast, but what are you doing here? Jose Suarez also pretty cool on the QP percentage. Also, you see in the middle there, it's average pitch percentage. We didn't want to neglect that one. And it's much higher for Keegan Aiken. But man, look at that. And also lowest quality pitch percentage. Yeah, Ian Anderson had too many balls. Zach Plesac threw bad ones. Martin Perez, I am so sorry. You are such a Toby. Cal Quantrill, Johnny Cueto. Oh boy. Don't do it. Oh man. And then you have bad pitch, and then highest bad pitch percentage again. Kendall Sanchez. So sorry, but Chad Kuhl and Chris Archer, these guys are the ones that really got hurt, right? And we didn't want to go with that. But the lowest, the ones that didn't allow it the most. This is why you have these amazing ERAs. Drew Rasmussen, I gotta say, we love Drew Rasmussen. We are a huge fan of Drew Rasmussen here. So I need to favor him more. I'm just saying that right now. Then the highest Q minus BP, you're gonna see a lot of the same names, not surprising. But here's Strider, of course, and Blake Snell, guys. Blake Snell executes more often. He's not as volatile as you think. Pretty dang cool. And of course, some of the same names. If you have a lot of bad pitches and a few good quality pitches, I mean, it's the same names again. No shocking thing there. And of course, Dylan Cease. I'm sure you guys are curious about Dylan Cease. These are wonderful looking Bloom boards. Exactly, Bloom. I hope that you make some Bloom boards with this stuff because I'm sure you'll find some fun value in it. But Dylan Cease is down here. Keep in mind that's 28th in quality minus bad pitch percentage. And it's actually it's a little high. As you can see, we color graded the stuff a little high on the bad pitch percentage. But a lot of good pitches as well. Tyler Wells has you beat those C's, so maybe I should drafting him instead. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean, on that topic though, really quickly, Ryan, this is as you guys can see, we think the applications are really what is important, and there are things that we haven't done yet that I imagine a lot of you will create, and we cannot wait for that. Hit luck, I think, is such a Really fun thing. And it goes down to a point that I want to hammer home here. Luck is not, it is not BABIP, home run, fly ball rate, left on base rate. I call it the holy trinity equating luck because that's all we had for it. But when you talk about any sport, if it's chess, if it's football, if it's golf, the true luck is what the opponent does. Whenever you have two humans against each other, sure, you're going to have things about the wind pushing the ball this way, or, oh man, you hit it in play and all that kind of stuff. It's what the opponent does. And what we can do with PLV is say, this is what the pitcher does, and this is what the hitter does. And we can have these better conversations about luck. We can say that, yes, we have strength of opponent, but maybe this hitter faced Max Scherzer and got his 3 worst fastballs of the day. We can actually look at that. Look at his home runs. Were they meatballs or were they really good pitches? We can do that. So I really want to emphasize that one more time here. And we can use hit luck to do a better version of that true luck. And that's a simplified BABIP. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more. Actually does the hit results here. So hit luck versus BABIP. This is a really fun thing for me. So we have BABIP. We have a 290 BABIP. We have or maybe it's a 310 expected, right? And then we have hit luck. And hit luck could just be it's going to be plus 21 or minus 8. How many hits should he have had, or plus or minus? So looking at the BABIP, this gives a number without any context. You just see a 290 BABIP. Is he supposed to have that? Is he not? You have the X BABIP, but is that below average? Do we think that's kind of low for Aaron Judge? Do we think that's high for someone like, I don't know, Stephen Kwan? Like, what do we expect here? We don't know because we just have the number. And the X is what's given on the field, but it's not what they're delivered. It's not the pitch that's been given to them. With hit luck, you quickly understand he should have 20 more hits. He allowed 20 more hits than he should have, right? That is such a quick understanding of hit luck. Like, that is what we're trying to answer. When we look at a BABIP of like someone that has a 256 BABIP as a pitcher, we say, oh no, he's supposed to. Noah Syndergaard's supposed to have an elevated one. We can actually assess quickly, yeah, he allowed more hits or he allowed fewer hits than we expected him to have. Super powerful and very easy. And I'm talking about before with getting the casual user into this. Hit luck. He's allowed a lot more hits than he should have, right? We know this right away. Power adjusted luck. That's a really interesting idea, Felix. We can talk about that more later. So this utilizes both the field and the opponent luck, right? So it's taking into account the pitch that you saw, but then also we can say, yeah, that generally has this expected outcome in the field. So it does everything we want it to do. I think it's such a fun, quick way to look at it. And it answers the question, how many hits did they deserve, right? That's really cool. So I also want to go back to this really quickly. If you guys remember this from the beginning of the presentation. So we have all of these metrics, right? And I messed up. I meant to do this slide and whatever. Don't forget the other one. This is how we had it. But if you remember, the hitter does something. We don't have anything for that. And we can calculate it now because this is just an algebra equation. If we're able to quantify this and we know this, then we do this minus this equals this. That's really cool. That's so cool. We finally have a way to quantify hitter ability. Oh, it's not just the contact. Oh, so that is what hitter performance is. It's very simple, right? What does it do? It determines expected results based on the PLV they got. So we give them a grade based on the actual outcome. So we give you a pitch. We say this has a 10% home run chance. You hit a home run, right? But if it's Kyle Schwarber hitting that 38% one, we're not going to actually grade you super high on that, right? We also can say things like, if you hit a stupid pitch that should never be a home run for a home run, you get a good performance on that. If you're Joey Gallo and you whiff on that 3-2 cutter, it's not just a strikeout. That is a really bad pitch that you should not have struck out on. We can do lots of things like this. We can do swing decisions. Normally guys swing and miss with that slider down and away, and you didn't. You get a positive grade for that. Javier Baez, why are you swinging at that one below? We know that isn't supposed to be it. We can quantify this. Oh, that is so powerful and so easy and quick to do. So we're calling it hitter performance. And it's HP, which I think is also like the health, which I think is kind of cool if you're an RPG guy. So the HP of a hitter, you want a higher amount. Their constitution, right? It allows us also to analyze pitchers. We can go back and forth on this train. So we have the PLV, and then to the hitter and what the hitter does. And then we generate from that a generalized hitter performance. So if as a pitcher, what hitters did you get? And based on the hitter performance, we can then look at ERA in a different light. We can look at everything that they've done and their outcomes in a different light. Because based on their PLV, we expected one thing. Hitters have performed differently. And how did they perform against the hitters? Oh, there's so many options with this. It's just the seed. And just by creating that pitch quantifier and using it at an event, then we can go back and we can apply it to all of these things. And it's just a chain of events. It's so fascinating and fun and exciting. So what you can do is you can make projections. Oh, it's a different way to look ahead, and we can make them differently than anyone else. We can do it differently than just regression models of previous seasons. We can do this with PLV. And so to talk about this, we have Jesse Wolfersberger, who is our projections director. Jesse, thank you so much for joining PitchCon today. Oh, you actually have muted yourself.
Regardless, that was a PLV 0 move on my part.
Welcome, Jesse. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. This is awesome. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited to unveil what we've been working on. This is cool stuff.
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware, Jesse has worked with Fangraphs, the Cincinnati Reds. I talked to Jesse, I believe back in August to get this started. And it's been a blast going through this with him. I'm really excited for him to share what he's been working on. And Jesse, take it away.
Yeah, glad to. Hi, everybody. I'm Jesse. So this is, like I said, exciting stuff. I'm sure as I'm seeing in the comments here, it's like, yeah, I got some drafts coming up. So how do I utilize this pitch level data to do something more interesting in my draft? Let's talk about it. Well, going back a little bit here. So Nick came to me and said, hey, Jesse, we have this new stat, PLV. This is going to be great. Like, you want to make a projection system. And honestly, like at first I kind of was maybe in, maybe out. And then he's like, well, it's got to be completely different than everything else out there. And to me, that's interesting because look, there are some really good projection systems out there. Okay. Zips and Steamer do a great job. They've been working on this for years. I don't know that I want to go sort of head to head with them on a regression contest, but to do something completely different and build a projection system in a bottoms up approach rather than a top down approach, well, that's pretty interesting. So that's how we got here. Again, let's think about how traditional projection systems work, right? You know, to predict K percentage, you might take, year T, and you might take year T minus 1 K percentage, and year T minus 2, year T minus 3. You might apply some age factor or something like that. And look, this works well. You're minimizing these squared errors. This is what these models do. It's great. I don't think that this is a bad system. I think it's a very good one. I don't think it uses pitch level data in a very interesting way. I think that with a pitch level data, we could actually, even if we were to use the pitch level data in a regression model, I think it would be fine, but I think we would kind of end up at the same places as other projection systems. And what I mean by that is, we could end up with the same sleepers and the same busts and the same, very similar players that the projection systems like and dislike, because they're crunching. It's a bunch of folks crunching numbers in a very similar way. So that's what we're not going to do. We're not going to do a regression model the way that most projection systems work. Okay, well, what are we going to do? We are going to do something completely weird and different, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You've got here a bunch of bags. Jesse, what are we doing for a bunch of bags? Okay, it works like this. It's a PLV simulator. So we are going to simulate pitches, plate appearances, games, and seasons. Okay, it works like this. You've got a pitcher. Let's say take Zach Greinke, but it could be anybody. In his bag, he has every pitch he's thrown since 2021. We are going to pick a pitch at random, and not quite exactly random, but we're going to pick, it's going to be more weighted towards a more recent pitch. So for example, a pitch thrown in August or September of last season has about 3 times as likely chance of being picked from the bag as one from April of 2021. So, look, any pitch that this guy has thrown, any given pitcher has thrown in the past 2 years does have a chance of being used in the simulator, but we want this to be more responsive so that if they start pitching very well or maybe get injured and are hiding a hidden injury, something like that, that it begins to, adjust based on recency. Okay, so that's the pitcher side. Frankly, that's the easy part, right? We're just which is a random number, a weighted random number generator. The hitter side is a little more complex. They have more like a diaper bag looking thing, because each pocket we have to organize the pitches in the pockets. So for example, it still contains every pitch they've seen since 2021, but one pocket might be all bad fastballs, right? One pocket might be all quality breaking balls. We're going to organize these so that when Mike Trout sees a pitch, he gets to respond with a pitch from that pocket. It's, again, think about it. It's almost like a card building game or like a D&D type thing where it's, we're going to sort of, pick out different cards from different decks is another way to think about it. And again, we are weighting these by recency. So, again, if Mike Trout hit a home run off of a quality breaking ball last month, that has a greater chance of being picked out of the bag than what he did on a quality breaking ball last April. Okay. Yes, that's a great diaper bag. Okay, so it looks like this. So this is a plate appearance, okay? So we are going to pick pitches out of this bag, and we are going to respond by taking pitches out of this bag. So a plate appearance could look something like this. Average fastball, strike foul. No balls, 1 strike. Quality off speed, call strike. No balls, 2 strikes. A bad off speed, a ball. And then an average breaking ball, 95 mile per hour liner. Boom, plate appearance. So we are going to, look, again, players who have a really good foul ball ability, right? They've got a lot of foul balls in their bag for good pitches, good and quality pitches. Well, their plate appearances are going to be extended longer. So again, we get a really interesting real life kind of view of what a plate appearance looks like. That becomes really fun. Okay. That's how you do a plate appearance. Well, how do you get to a season? Okay. So if we can simulate now any batter pitcher matchup, if you do about 180,000 of those, all of a sudden you have a season projection. You take those projections and apply some park adjustments. Okay. That's great. Now you've park adjusted projections. Group those by team and you get simulated standings. Great. This is awesome. And then layer on top of all of that, kind of simple models for runs and RBIs, stolen bases, wins, losses, saves, holds, right? So again, if you know how often a player, if you know a guy's on base percentage, slugging percentage, and you know his team's on base percentage, well, you can make a pretty good estimation of how many RBIs he's going to have because you have his performance and the team performance, what lineup position he's in, things like that. Okay, so that's how you get to sort of a season projection. This is why this is interesting to me, and this is why this is different. So, a pitcher's quality will be determined by how many good or bad pitches they have in their bag, regardless of the real life outcomes. So I don't care if a pitcher had a 4.5 ERA. Our simulator might have him be very good because he's got very good pitches in his bag. Or again, if he starts pitching very poorly, the bag will start to, resemble more like the bag on the right than the bag on the left, and it will, he'll get worse over time. The hitter projections are independent of defense, ballpark, and opponent quality. So again, did a guy just happen to get this pitcher on a really good day, or even not even on a good day? Did the pitcher just have his best pitches for you on and bat against everybody else? Well, we can kind of adjust for these things and neutralize those factors so that we get a more true talent type of view. They also have the same strengths and weaknesses that they have in real life. If a guy is good against breaking pitches, then he'll be good against breaking pitches in our simulator. If he's bad against fastballs, well, he's going to be bad against fastballs in our simulator. Okay, so this is, again, why this is an interesting method. There's some more nuances here. So that, as we get into this, it gets so interesting. Okay, here is nuance number one, which I'm calling baseball Frankensteins. And I thank Midjourney for my interesting picture of a baseball Frankenstein here. That was a fun one. Okay, so what if a player has a small bag? And I'm not going to make any jokes about that, but let's just say they've only been in the major leagues for a week, and they hit a home run on the only quality breaking ball they saw. Well, if you put that into our simulator, then the simulator is going to say, okay, every time he sees a quality breaking ball, he hits a home run, which we know is not true. It's just, there's just not much, there's not enough sample there. So to address this, we created a baseball Frankenstein made up of all low sample players. So you take every player who has seen less than, I think it's 20 pitches, and we will create them. So now we have one player with a ton of sample size that's made up of that kind of group. So then we're going to fill each player's bags with pitches from that Frankenstein. So that way, they have, it's sort of a Bayesian technique, meaning, if they have really good performance against quality breaking pitches, that's great. But we're going to kind of give him some average ones until he has seen enough of those to kind of sink or swim on his own. So over time, the real player's data, it'll be only his performance, and the Frankenstein element of his bag will be kind of away. Yes, a bootstrap is a technical term for this. Okay, so that's kind of nuance number one. Nuance number two, which I think is, again, really interesting, and thanks again to Midjourney for my other kind of visual here. This is a young Frankenstein. So rookies, how do we handle rookies? Because in any projection system, doing it this way or doing it any other way, you don't have any data about that player. So you're going to have to find some way to give a reasonable expectation for that player. Otherwise, we're just going to project them to be league average. So Chris Clegg did some awesome work to make some comps for each rookie who's coming up. So, for example, Anthony Volpe's Frankenstein players are Baddoo and Andrews and Hayes, right? So what we do here, then we are taking, one element of each, one part of each, and we're creating this little Frankenstein player that's just for him. And so then when he goes into the simulator, he's going to get random outcomes from that bag, from that Frankenstein bag that is sort of, again, not him, but will probably perform, based on our best ability. And again, over time, as he actually sees real pitches in real life, it will be, his performance over time, and then the Frankenstein element goes away. Okay. And again, the element of this too, yes, I mean, Chris and I collaborated on this. It's like, okay, we need him to don't just say the best possible outcome for each prospect, because then again, if you say this guy might be Ke'Bryan Hayes, well, then the simulator is going to think he's really good. Let's be real, a lot of prospects don't make it. So, we try to kind of come up with a sort of, bad, outcome, a sort of median outcome, and a really good outcome for each prospect. Okay, that's great. Well, does it work? Right? So that's what we're here to find out. Does it work? Yes, it works. It's very interesting, but I will just be completely honest. We don't know how truly well it will work until this season. I've back tested this. You can kind of play around and see how it compares. But the reality is it's kind of hard to backtest in a real way. You need to kind of see how it works when you haven't seen any of the data before. I will say that in backtesting, it compares favorably to Steamer and Zips. And there's cases where it's better, there's cases where it's worse. I think the most interesting element of this, though, is that it's unique. Its uniqueness is the real calling card here. What I mean by that is it will disagree with Steamer and Zips more than they disagree with each other. So if you are looking to create a fantasy projection and you wanted to kind of like get a differing opinion from a completely different perspective, this is the way to go. And again, if that differing perspective agrees with the more regression-based approach, then you can be pretty confident that that's an accurate projection. But there's going to be a lot of cases where they disagree. So who does it like? Again, Nick showed you a lot of the leaderboards. I mean, it's going to be very similar to that. Who does it like? It likes players with great stuff. Blake Snell, Hunter Green. Like these guys don't necessarily have the real life, outcomes that go along with this. But boy, their pitches score very well. So when we put them into the simulator, and they're picking out these great pitches from their bag, and they're having really great success in the simulations. It also likes players who induce weak contact, which again is I think a really awesome element of what we're trying to do here. Is that we don't need to project BABIP because BABIP is sort of just a natural outcome of the PLV stat. So players like McClanahan and Gonsolin and these guys who are kind of getting have these weak contact qualities to them. A lot of projection systems, or at least some of the older ones, would just say, oh, they're getting lucky, and they'd come out with a very bad projection or sort of a regressed projection. We're saying no, those were earned bad contacts. Those were earned grounders. And so therefore, again, going into the projection system, those are guys that come out really well. And I think that's really fun. Okay. Other nuances to consider. And again, Mid-Journey, I just like playing with this. This is Dave Ortiz making a projection system. I thought that was funny. Okay. So there's nuances here, right? This is just going to be a little bit different than the projection systems you're probably used to seeing. All players in our projection face a league average mix of opponents. So we know this isn't true. We know that let's say, a player in the AL East might face harder competition than a player in the NL Central. We know that's true. Again, part of our goal here is to just kind of get a more true talent type of projection. And frankly, part of it's very difficult to try and get, who a player might face over the course of the season. So, kind of for V1, league average mix of opponents. Okay, no aging factor. Now, again, I think this is, by design in some cases. We've seen that over the last few years, the players' aging curves is kind of changing rapidly. And there's players that are more successful later in their careers than any projection system would have thought. So if you impose a aging factor and say once you're over 35, the average performance goes like this, well, then you're going to miss out on guys like Justin Verlander. So we only use performance. Now, if that player is starting to have worse quality pitches as he goes on, our model will adjust to that and start pulling worse quality pitches out of the bag, but we're not going to impose an aging factor. Again, no defensive quality for now. These are things that might be something we want to add soon, but this is just based on quality of contact. Each plate appearance is in a vacuum, just like PLV itself. I'm not projecting that this happened in a certain game state with a runner on second or a tie score at the end of the game, anything like that. These are in a vacuum. Okay. Pitch sequencing. Now, again, this is something that is a big area. I think we've already seen today, a big area for exploration is right now we're not taking that into account, right? So the pitches that come out of a pitcher's bag are a random draw. We don't know or care if it was on a 2-strike count or a 1-strike count or a 3-ball count or anything in between. So now again, we're certainly going to find that some pitchers succeed, or perhaps even catchers succeed in sequencing a plate appearance. But for now, they're just pulling random pitches out of their bag. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, we are going to unveil these shortly, and I've got a ton of fun stuff. We're frankly still making tweaks to it to make sure that they all look great. But again, a big thanks to everybody here. Nick and Kyle and Chris and Nick. Bill Petty, his baseball R package is just invaluable. You are all PLV tins in my book. Thank you, and can't wait to see how these things work, and hopefully some folks will win some drafts.
All right, Jesse, thank you so much for taking the time. PLV projections. Oh, it makes all the sense in the world, and I gotta say, I think the most exciting part about it is that it's different. I mean, the Bat X, what it does is so great, and ATC and everything, and it does it in a very specific way, but we're doing something different. And as you mentioned, yeah, there are going to be guys that we're in on or against that are not going to be right, but we are going to. We've already seen that we have some really interesting differentiators inside of it. And as you even hinted at with DFS stuff, that is part of it as well, that we know is important inside of DFS, and the applications for using this inside of it is so fun. And it's something that, we have more to talk about. But really, it's just been so fun doing this with you and talking about it. And yes, I've seen that bag presentation before, and I love it just as much as everybody watching right now. I think it's amazing.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I love. One of the cool things about projection systems is finding your sort of lightning rod players, right? It's all right. Who do we like more or less than somebody else? And I think we've both know that Drew Rasmussen is going to be one of our lightning rod players.
It's unbelievable. He's been our bar essentially. Like, okay, where are we on this right now?
Yep.
It's like, well, where's Drew Rasmussen? It's incredible. Also, Jose Urquidy is getting so much love inside of it too.
Yeah,
which I think is fascinating as well. But Jesse, really, thank you so much for your time with us. Thanks for stopping by today and really outlining all of it. And yeah, guys, make sure you follow Jesse on Twitter. Be part of the discussion with him. As again, just like everything we're talking about here, we're so excited to reveal it. And we're going to continue to make them better. So we're really excited to sharing all of that. But yeah, Jesse, thanks so much for taking the time, man.
Thanks. Awesome.
All right. So we're not done. There's more. There is more. So that was Jesse Wolfersberger talking about projections. And I wanna tell you guys kind of our plan here. So we have PLV 1.0 that we're launching, right? And we're going to be doing that with PL8 on February 7th. We're going to have PLV projections with those as well. And we're also going to be providing you fantasy tools utilizing PLV. So this is super exciting to me. Something that we've been doing for a long time here is we've been writing all these articles, all this kind of stuff, but we've heard endlessly people are saying, we want this, we want that, we want these features on our site to utilize all the things that PitcherList offers. So let's talk about the new PL Pro subscription that we're going to be launching on February 7th with PL8. And this is what we're going to be offering. So you get all of our season projections, 2023. These are powered by PLV. They're different than everybody else. You're going to get DFS projections. That includes an optimizer for FanDuel and DraftKings. That is going to be launched the week of opening day. You're going to get a live draft tool. Michael Rathall and I have been working on this since September. If you are a part of the Twitch stream, you will know that we did a mock draft testing out our live draft tool. We've already made improvements to it. It's going to be powered by our PLV projections. And that is going to be, it's an intuitive one. I generally stay away from them. And I've worked with Michael to create one that I actually want to use and is exactly what you guys want based on your feedback. We're also launching an auction draft calculator that will be adjusting our projections based on your values. So you're in a points league, you're in a 15-teamer, you have different positions. You are going to be able to adjust it and get different values for it. Also inside of the live draft tool, it's going to be using that as well. It's how you're going to view all of our projections is with our auction draft calculator. It is awesome. It is intuitive to use. We have presets for leagues inside of it as well. We're also going to be doing weekly fantasy projections in the season. For those that are in NFBC leagues, 15 teamers, weekly leagues, I know Sunday, you just want to know who should I be going for this week before your weekly lineup is set. So we have it a week out. We are doing this next 7 days based on the expected starters, when we do it, what the expected lineups, that kind of all that fun stuff. We have a weekly projection for everybody. So that is going to be involved as well. It's super helpful for everybody in your NFBC leagues, your weekly leagues, to have that. And then, of course, you're going to have your daily picks as well for fantasy as well. I'm going to be shouting this during my morning streams. I'm going to have my morning article that is the stream picks of the day. And then, of course, I'm going to be telling you what PL Bot thought was the best stream pick of the day before. Or you can have a PL Pro subscription and see what they are for that day. So we were looking around and we're thinking, I mean, we've invested a lot into creating these. And we were wondering, how much is this normally costing people? And we got around a number. We asked, actually, how much do you think we should be charging for PL Pro for the year? And what we saw was people were saying, oh yeah, this should be like $500. We've seen things like $100 a month for stuff like this, 400 or so. No, we're doing it for just $20 a month. And you get all of the things on the left. And what's better than that is that if you order today, it's live on the site right now. You can get $40 off of that yearly. Also, you'll get this lovely PL Pro mug. This is only if you pre-order before launch day on the 7th. So I love this mug. It's wonderful. Tastes great. And you can go to pitchwheels.com/premium today and go sign up for PL Pro. We will then get in touch with you and get a mug sent out to you. And make sure to use the code PitchCon to get $40 off. If you currently have PL Plus, we were going to be reaching out to you if you would like to upgrade as well. And if you have PL VIP, we have been in touch with you as well. We cannot wait for this. This is something we've been wanting to create for you guys for a long time. We hope that you find it interesting. And again, all thanks to the work we've been doing for 3.5 years in PLV. So what is next? The applications. I mean, I think this is really the takeaway of today, right? There are so many things that we want to do. These are just random ideas. There are more that I've sent off to our data science team. But essentially, we wanted terminators on single starts. If they hit a certain threshold of how much PLV they accumulate, does that outline quality starts better than others? Does it say that they should have done better or worse? We can do sequencing. Understanding the pitch quantifier allows us to say, maybe you should be throwing that other thing another time. We can see how batters perform with in-zone and out-zone PLV. We can do by inning, high leverage stuff, great things for relievers. There's so much we could do. We have the home run percentages. Who has the highest home run percentage? Who is taking most advantage of those PLVs that generally have a higher home run percentage? There are so many ways of applying this. And the thing is, it's your turn. And well, before we get into that, I messed this up. But anyway, I want to talk about what we did today. PLV, we talked about the new pitch quantifier. We talked about the applications, PLA, hit luck, quality minus BP, by pitch percentage, hitter performance. We have PL projections coming out. That's in season. That's also for the regular, for your drafts. We have DFS stuff. We have fantasy optimizers. We have the PL Pro subscription. But now it's your turn. How are you going to use PLV? What ideas do you have? We don't want this to be just a PL exclusive thing. We want to hear what you can create with the data that we're putting out. So I can't wait to see what the community comes up with. I've been trying so hard to hold back for the past 3.5 years about this discussion because I'm dying to have this conversation. What do you want to make with this information? I want to hear it. Tweet at me, DM me, whatever. I want to hear it. and I want to make it with you. So it's your turn. What can you create using PLV? I challenge all of you to come up with it. But all right, final notes. This is everything we covered again. Hit Luck will follow soon after. We still want to fine tune some things with that, but we're gonna have PLV, PLA quality and bad pitch percentage and hit performance on the site for free on the player pages. By the way, mobile friendly with percentile ranks to go with league average. You know that league average toggle we have? We're adding percentile ranks to it for every stat. So you'll know quickly. You don't need to go to a giant table somewhere else to figure out everything. You know percentile ranks on the page for every stat. You can learn it. Oh, can't wait. There's so much more for us to develop. We have a new Twitter handle, a Pitcherless PLV, that is going to be tweeting out a lot of this stuff. We're also going to have detailed articles and all of these new stats, everything that we're doing in February. So you don't have to always refer back to this video. But thank you all so much, really, for being here and understanding this journey we've been on. It's time for an open Q&A. Leave it in the chats. We don't have too much time. We have our Pitcherless Roundtable next. But I'm curious what questions you have. If you're a high data engineer, you want to be involved on this. You want to be involved in all the stuff in the back end. We do have open positions with our database engineering team. So please reach out. info@pitcherless.com. You can send me an email. Also, just send me a DM. I have open DMs. What is Adelise Garcia's PLV? Do not have that for you now. I'm also interested in the sequencing. I cannot tell you enough how I am too. I'm a low-end data engineer guy. What I will show you is some fun stuff here. And let me see if I can easily do this. I'm going to stop sharing that. So it's just me. Hi, what's going on, guys? Let me share this. Share screen, share Chrome tab. Yes. This is Jacob deGrom's PLV from 2021 against lefties. 6.4 PLV. Oh my! 6.4. Look how few of them are below average. Oh, then there's this. I mean, then this is against righties. Oh no, it's a 6. League average in 2021 was 4.91, 5.52 on the four-seamer. 6. I mean, even his changeup was above average. Like, oh, you want to? Oh, that's good. Okay, I'll get you that one. I'll get you Blake Snell. Oh, changeup. That's such a good call. So this. So here we go. This is the app that you guys are going to be getting access to. And you can right click and share these. So by all means, you can just quickly do it. You can do all over here. So this was 2021. What do you know? He had an average changeup. Stop throwing it, Blake Snell. To lefties. Let's see here. Didn't throw it, thankfully. To righties. We've got sliders are way better. Fastballs are way better. Curveball wasn't as good. Curveball's more for against lefties, as it should be. Oh, man. So let's see. I mean, I can just go to 20. Let's go 2022 here. And Blake Snell. Below average. Stop throwing it. Stop it, Blake Snell. Stop it. What is your personal favorite super specific PLV based stat? Man, they're all so good. I think it's hitter performance. I think that is such an interesting conversation that we just don't do. We don't have anything to talk about the actual ability of a hitter. And that's why I really want to make it important to understand the PLV is a pitch quantifier that applies to both pitchers and hitters. And you want Joe Ryan? Oh yeah, Joe Ryan's good. Actually, I'll also give you guys what I really want to do is I want to show you Logan Gilbert, because this is a big difference that we have, I think, with pitching plus. And Joe Ryan, by the way, this is against right-handers. I like to separate them out. Above average with the four-seamer. Surprising with the slider that it's not above average. Generally, righty to righty sliders are the highest performing PLV. As you can see, 5.23 is the league average as a righty to righty. And to see it slightly below average is a little surprising. But the four-seamer is above average, and against lefties, also above average. Stop throwing this changeup, please. Just stop throwing this changeup, Joe Ryan. Just stop it. Oh. So, but I do want to show you Logan Gilbert's, for example. Let's see here. So Logan Gilbert's slider through us is actually average. It's not that good. That's an issue, if you ask me. The most Tobiest Toby. That would be Cal Quantrill. There we go. Across all of his pitches, below average sinker, middling cutter, middling changeup, middling curveball. Right, they look like minor differences without seeing percentiles, and I absolutely agree. I have the ability of using this for the past couple months or whatever. Kyle Bland made this. I was just so thankful, and that has taught me what is good, what is bad. In general, you want your pitches to be above average. Keep in mind the 4.5 to 5.5 being the average pitch level, and 4.63 is saying that it's on average a bad pitch. Will there be rolling charts for PLV? Great question, John. Yes, we are pretty far along in adding rolling charts to our player pages, which will of course include all of the PLV stats that we have. So yeah, Gilbert's change of command was all over the place last year. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, this is what's important about it too, is understanding, hey, this is generally how they perform, or how they are as a pitch itself, but there are qualities of it. For example, we'll talk about Logan Webb's slider. I think he pulled it over too much, but then he also changed the movement a bit. With George Kirby's, his command is a little bit off, and that will affect the PLV without telling you that's the location, right? So those are things added onto it. Last one I'm going to do, because we're over to 2:00 right now, is we'll show Spencer Strider. And what do you know? He has a really good four-seamer. It's an average slider, and that's okay. That's all right. He doesn't need it to be much more because it's such a good four-seamer. Four-seamer 545, which is exceptional, to say the least. Nearly averaging a quality pitch on it. And against lefties, not getting beat by the slider. Look at that. 21% usage on sliders, and it's above average. Wonderful to see that. Stop throwing the changeup. So really, I couldn't be more excited.